Welcome back to the big board. Having a look at BFN, Battle for Normandy, August 1944 from GMT. I've played this game a couple of times, one or two, maybe three different scenarios. One was a sort of a post-landing scenario, and then two others were a battle situation, and I forget the specific names of the scenarios. I could probably look them up real quick here, but perhaps the battle for Cherbourg was one, and then something starting with an E. I forget what that one was, but nevertheless, it was pretty interesting. I'm coming back to the game, and you may say, well, why pull this out all of a sudden? And I have no real reason why. Just the mood struck me that I needed to do something about playing some more Normandy titles, and here we are. So what I thought I would do, it's subject to my level of interest, is start out with the Omaha landing and go through that exercise, and then switch to scenario 7, which picks up pretty much at the end of the Omaha landing, and we'll use the situation that ends up being recorded here, transfer that over to the full set of maps, and carry on from there. And then we'll just, whatever the rest of the setup details are for the other beaches for Sword, Juno, Gold, and Utah, we'll set those up as well. So it might be, it might end up being that we just play this Omaha beach thing for the time being, but right now where our attention is to play June 6, 7, 8, 9, I think is where 9 or 10. And then from there, we'll get stuck in and potentially set up the full thing and sort of play it out a little bit further. So the landings are not my favorite part of most Normandy games, just because they tend to involve a lot of special rules and exceptions and additional complexity that perhaps doesn't give us as much fun as one might expect. Now, I will say that this landing exercise has been relatively straightforward, but I am only doing it for one beach. I did make a couple of mistakes along the way. I think we managed to rectify most of those, and it didn't adversely affect one side or the other too significantly. But right now we're looking at the AM turn of June 7th. And I think we've done a little bit better than historical here. Got very lucky on the strong point units and rolls. There were only 2 4-rated. Let me just move this over here. Only 2 4-rated units, and the rest of them, as you can see, were 3s and 2s. And that that was lucky for the Americans, because when they're shooting at these strong points, they've got to roll well against these guys, number 1, and number 2. These guys with the 4-rated elements, when they're firing, they have to roll a 4 or less to conduct a hit, to get a hit, and to inflict a step loss. And fortunately, there were not too many of those. Keep in mind also there are some stacking modifiers that the bigger your stack, the more penalties are applied to the Americans when they're shot at. So it all kind of worked out in the end, is my point. So we've almost cleared the beach area. We're now trying to secure a line in and around here. Let me just check to make sure. We've done the AM turn, in fact. And I believe we're about to get started. No, we've done the PM turn, so this is good. So 7 p.m., what happened here was we had a series of attacks that were conducted against the Germans that went okay to clear out this section of the beach. But here we lost a step, and the Germans lost a step, so it's static. And then we had to conduct a retreat here. And I made a mistake with the retreat. For some reason, I had it stuck in my brain that you had to retreat 3. And I think that was from from the Jaws of Victory game, because I think that's a 3 retreat hex, retreat 3 hexes, or maybe it's not, maybe I'm mixing it up again, but it's only retreat by 1. So I did push back, and I lost 2 steps as well. So I pushed these guys back from here, 1, 2, 3, and so this opened up a big hole. So what I've done to fill that was move these guys over to sort of support this flank so that the Germans couldn't push in and up against the beach and potentially mess up my supply, which is located along Easy Red's. The beachhead is right here, and I didn't want the Germans getting in and adjacent to that hex. So it's still pretty skinny, and in fact I might go back through the photographs and have a look and see what the situation was here, so that we can fix that retreat, because it's that would become a substantial error in the grand scheme of things. The landing was pretty bloody. Believe that we had a net total of either 12 or 14 companies of troops step losses getting through the landings, and that loss rate has slowed down now, obviously, but we're still losing 1, 2, or 3 steps a turn, which is about equal to the replacement rate that's occurring. So it's okay so far, and we're managing to force some retreats upon the Germans as well. So I've got a couple of things to fix up in terms of the retreats, because I know, for instance, this unit probably shouldn't be back here now. He should only be back 1 hex. One of the interesting things as well with this particular game system is that farmland and clear terrain, if you end up adjacent to an enemy unit, you will be required to attack that enemy unit in farmland and clear. And there may be one other type of terrain as well that will force that upon you. So it's often interesting that if you can push yourself up adjacent, perhaps during a mech move, or if you have the strength to actually conduct a reasonable sort of attack and do okay by it, you're going to force the German or the Allied player, if he's not ready, to withdraw from that hex. Otherwise, he's going to be forced to attack you. So, for instance, in this situation here, these guys are going to have to attack these folks, and so they will probably end up looking to withdraw from that particular situation, because that would be a disadvantageous attack, regardless of how we looked at it. So anyway, that's a little bit of an update on what's going on here. We'll get that pushed out to you guys in the next few minutes, and hopefully you will enjoy this this little exercise that we're going through. I'll post up a bunch of pictures and some commentary up on the blog over the next couple of days to sort of recap what's happened, how the landings transpired, and who attacked who and what happened. We'll take it from there. All the best.